sector. I consider this occasion as both significant and timely. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I extend warm greetings to all stakeholders as well as viewers joining us virtually through social media platforms. Your participation underscores our shared commitment to inclusive governance and effective communication. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the ministry's core mandate is rooted in the vision of building a resilient, modern society that enhances the economic and social well-being of all Ghanaians. Our work aligns with the government's resetting agenda, focusing on equity, sustainability, and transformation. Over the past months of resetting, we have made notable strides across our three core areas: works, housing, and water resources. Our progress speaks to our enduring commitment to transforming lives, strengthening communities, and advancing the foundational work for Ghana's sustainable development. The works subsector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the functions of the works subsector focuses on 1, the protection of the country's coastlines; 2, provision of urban drainage system to mitigate flood disasters; 3, maintenance of government properties; and 4, delivery of quality architectural and engineering services. Coastal protection works. Ghana's coastal belt continues to face significant threats due to the rising sea levels, resulting in flooding, shoreline erosion, and community displacement. In response, my ministry has prioritized strategic coastal protection to safeguard lives, livelihoods, and infrastructure. Notable achievements include the successful completion of coastal protection works at Komenda, Ningo Prampram, and Elmina. At Komenda, the project included the construction of a critical bridge and a modern fish market, which have also been completed. These interventions have improved local connectivity and enhanced livelihoods, particularly in the fishing communities of British and Dutch Komenda. At Ningo Prampram, extensive dredging of the Adjei Lagoon Basin was also successfully executed, providing improved protection for residential dwellings and restoring public access to the beachfront. Similarly, the third phase of the new Takoradi Sea Defense Project at Elmina has also been completed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these three projects have altogether protected an approximately 15 kilometers of coastline and offered protection to lives, livelihood, and properties. Additionally, there are other coastal protection projects at various stages of completion. 1, Dansoman Sea Defense, 95% completed. Dansoman Emergency Sea Defense Phase 2, 15% completed. Discove Coastal Protection Project, 36% completed. 4, Anomabu Coastal Protection Project, 81% completed. 5, Cape Coast Coastal Protection Project Phase 1, 80% completed. Cape Coast Coastal Protection Project Phase 2, 23% completed. Aboase Coastal Protection Project, 75% completed. Axim Coastal Protection Project, additional works, 12% completed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will recall in March 2025, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama visited Sulakope, Agaveji, and Amutinu in the Ketu South municipality, where tidal waves had displaced thousands of residents. During that visit, a firm commitment was made by His Excellency, the President, to address that devastation. True to that promise, I am pleased to announce that a contract was awarded for the Phase 2 of the Blekusu Coastal Protection Project. And in August last year, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana officially broke ground for the commencement of this critical project. Currently, the project is 25% completed, and calm has already been restored along the coastline. Additionally, the Lower Volta Basin Sea Defense Corridor has been incorporated into Waka Resilience Investment Project Phase 2, with technical assessments and environmental impact studies currently ongoing. Feasibility studies have also commenced for future coastal projects at Shama-Apo, Ningo Pram Pram, that is the Phase 2, and Ada West. Drainage and flood control works. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, flooding remains one of the most pressing infrastructural challenges in the country. Addressing flooding has remained one of the topmost priorities of this government since assuming office. A presidential task force on flooding, led by the Deputy Chief of Staff, has been established to coordinate national flood mitigation efforts. This high-level team, as part of its efforts, have carried out comprehensive assessments on major drainage infrastructure within key hydrological basins. These assessments have assisted in prioritizing critical flood-prone areas for interventions, as well as guided the design and execution of long-term flood mitigation strategies. Under the National Flood Control Program, spanning 2020, 2023, and 2024, my ministry has been implementing critical interventions to reduce flood-related risks. Notably, progress has been made in the construction, rehabilitation, and desilting of drains across various regions. These works have contributed significantly to improving the capacity of drainage systems, thereby reducing flood risk in identified hotspots. These interventions have resulted in the construction of an approximately 1.76 kilometers of storm drains as at December 2025. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as part of the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, that's known as GARID, performance-based dredging of the Odo Channel has continued from the line sections at Caprice and Circle. A post-dredging survey indicates that a total of 90,936 cubic meters of sediment have been dredged and transported to the designated handling sites. Similarly, upgrading interventions, including the construction of storm drains, local drains, major culverts, road paving, as well as other road works in Alogoshi, Akwetema, and Nima are 58%, 62%, and 65% completed, respectively. Other drainage improvement works have also commenced at Achimota, Nima Paloma, and Kanishi. As part of the non-structural measures, various equipment have been acquired and installed across key water bodies in Accra to support the flood early warning response systems for Accra. The development of the flood early warning response systems for Accra is advanced, with servers now installed and configured for Ghana Hydrological Authority, the National Disaster Management Organization, and the Ghana Meteorological Authority. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in response to emerging flood risk in the Greater Kumasi metropolitan area, drawing on lessons from the ongoing GARID project, the government secured grant funding to conduct strategic flood risk assessments across 3 key drainage basins, i.e. Sisa, Wiwi, and Abuabo. The consultants engaged to assess community-specific vulnerabilities in low-income areas such as Abuabo and Asawasi, as well as identify flood-prone zones within the broader Kumasi urban area, have submitted draft reports to the ministry, recommending a range of flood mitigation measures. Short-term proposals include dredging and drainage cleansing, enforcing building regulations, adapting flood-sensitive land use planning, and establishing a Kumasi flood early warning system. For the medium to long term, the reports suggest removing key bottlenecks in major drains, implementing a room for the river approach to restore floodplains with prospects for resettlement, while establishing a coordinated, sustainable waste management system for the metropolis. The ministry is seeking the needed resources to begin the process that will bring relief to the people of Kumasi. The government therefore remains resolute in its commitment to sustainably address flooding and its related challenges through continued investment, enhanced institutional collaboration, and community engagement. Operational hydrology. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to modernize Ghana's hydrological monitoring systems, the ministry installed 3 telemetry units along the Black and White Volta River systems to enhance flood forecasting and real-time hydrological monitoring. These are at Laura on the Black Volta, Yarugu and Nawuni along the White Volta River in northern Ghana. These installations significantly strengthen our capacity for data-driven early warning systems and disaster preparedness. Furthermore, an automatic discharge keeper has been installed at Aveno, Weja in the Odo River and Densu River catchment areas, significantly improving flow measurement and generating actionable hydrological data to support urban flood management in Accra. Additionally, real-time flow monitoring equipment has been installed at Sugakope in the Lower Volta Basin, Ashalaja in the Densu River Basin, and Pokwase in the Odo catchment, all aimed at monitoring stream flows and collecting the necessary hydrological data and information for flood risk management and mitigation. In a complementary effort, the Ghana Hydrological Authority, in partnership with the Volta River Authority, has also rehabilitated several malfunctioning gauging stations within the Volta River Basin. The renovated stations include Pran, Sineso, Yendi, Pasa, Dodo Tamale, Ahamasu, and Vapo. The housing subsector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana continues to grapple with housing deficit currently estimated at over 1.8 million units. This gap is further exacerbated by widespread affordability challenges which prevent a large portion of the population, particularly low and middle income earners, from accessing safe, secure, and dignified housing. Rapid urbanization has intensified the situation with more than half of the country's population now residing in urban areas, and projections indicating that this could rise to over 72% by 2050. The demand for housing in metropolitan areas such as Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi has therefore grown exponentially. Unfortunately, the supply of housing has not kept pace with this demand, resulting in overcrowding, soaring property prices, and the expansion of informal settlements. This scenario underscores the urgent need for coordinated, forward-looking interventions that simultaneously address housing supply and affordability, whilst promoting sustainable urban planning to match Ghana's evolving demographic realities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my ministry has continued its efforts to complete the stalled affordable housing projects across the country. TDC Ghana Limited has continued works on 800 housing units under the PON affordable housing project at Tema Community 26. These units are at various stages of completion and progressing steadily. To position TDC Ghana Limited as a key player in Ghana's housing industry, the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, performed the sword-cutting ceremony last year for the construction of the Oxygen City housing projects at Ho in the Volta region. This landmark initiative seeks to address Ghana's housing deficit through the development of 1,000 affordable housing units. This project is the first by TDC Ghana Limited outside the Tema acquisition area. The Oxygen City housing project, which will be housed on approximately 1,000 acres of land, is envisioned as a well-planned, serviced, and economically integrated community, featuring essential amenities such as a school, hospital, shopping mall, gym, and a recreational center. The expected completion date is June 2027. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my ministry has intensified engagement with the selected developer for the completion of the Sagleme Affordable Housing Project. Following the completion of the developer selection process led by Deloitte Ghana, the head of terms have been duly signed by both parties. The joint venture arrangement concluded among all parties as well as the shareholders' agreement drafted and mutually agreed upon. The document is currently with the Attorney General for review and finalization. Similarly, the State Housing Company Limited continued works on key projects, including the Surge Homes development at Amrahia. The SHC Gardens project, both projects are currently at 68% and 70% completed, respectively. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, National Home Ownership Fund continues to make significant progress in expanding access to affordable housing for Ghanaians. Through its construction financing support, the fund has completed the construction of 129 housing units at Tema Community 22, awaiting commissioning. Similarly, an additional 50 units at Shire Hills is expected to be completed by the end of the second quarter. Government Redevelopment Program. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Government Redevelopment Program is a strategic initiative aimed at revitalizing prime public lands and infrastructure to better serve the evolving needs of public servants and the urban environment. The program seeks to transform underutilized state-owned properties into modern residential and administrative developments, in line with effective land use planning and sustainable development objectives. Under the program, the ministry is executing various redevelopment projects, delivering a total of 625 housing units, which is currently at different stages of completion. To date, 195 housing units have been completed at Roman Ridge, Laboni, and Latebi Okoshi, and are allocated to public servants. The program marks a major step in advancing the government's commitment to expanding housing options for public servants, enhancing living standards, and making more efficient use of limited urban land. Since assuming office, the ministry has worked closely with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to strengthen oversight, safeguard government's interest, and ensure that public assets are neither undervalued nor compromised. Akosombo Dam spillage, resettlement of displaced communities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, following the devastating impact of the Akosombo Dam spillage, my ministry, in collaboration with the 19 affected district assemblies, went through an extensive process to validate a total of 2,225 housing to be reconstructed for the flood victims across 4 regions. Phase 1 of the resettlement efforts consists of 1,010 housing units within the 3 critical impact zones, namely North Tong, Central Tong, and South Tong districts in the Volta region. Site mobilization and construction activities are currently active in 8 locations across the 3 districts, with 251 housing units ongoing at various levels of completion. Greenville District Housing Program. As part of the decentralization agenda and in line with government's commitment to affordable housing, my ministry has initiated the Greenville District Housing Program, a strategic intervention targeting low to middle income earners at the district level. In its pilot phase, the program has commenced in 8 districts, namely South Dai, Asojaman, Achimansa, Ajumako Enyan Esiem, Achema Kwangoma, Doma West, Bole, and Tamale, and at various levels of completion now. Each district is earmarked to receive 22-bedroom housing units as part of the first phase of the project. A hybrid construction approach using compressed earth bricks and sandcrete blocks is being adopted, prioritizing sustainability, cost efficiency, and resilience. The official launch of the Greenville District Housing Program is expected to be performed in the short term. This milestone marks a significant step towards decentralizing housing delivery and advancing social equity, inclusivity, and improved living standards across the country. National Rental Assistance Scheme. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the National Rental Assistance Scheme, established by the government in 2023 as a social housing program, aims to facilitate access to rental properties for qualifying beneficiaries by providing rent advance. The scheme is currently being piloted in 6 regions, namely Greater Accra, Bono East, Northern, Eastern, Western, and Ashanti regions. In 2025, the scheme successfully facilitated the payment of rent advance for 2,031 Ghanaians across its 6 operational regions, bringing the cumulative number of beneficiaries since inception to 4,732. I am glad to state that so far, the disbursement recovery rate is about 99%, indicating the government seed money is fully recoverable and in circulation. The program's eligibility criteria, application process, and beneficiary success stories highlight its effectiveness in addressing housing needs and enhancing community well-being, and government is poised to take the necessary steps in the short to medium term to scale up the operations of the scheme across all 16 regions of the country. Review of rent laws. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, recognizing the critical role of rental housing in national development, my ministry continued the review of the Rent Act 1963, Act 220, and the Rent Control Law 1986, PNDC Law 138. These reforms aim to modernize outdated legislation, eliminate regulatory bottlenecks, and incentivize private sector investment into rental housing. Key priorities include maintaining tenant protections, especially for low-income and vulnerable groups, while also regulating hostel accommodations fees across the country. Towards the end of the year 2025, the National Rent Dialogue was organized to validate and streamline the proposed amendment. The ministry taking the necessary steps to resubmit the revised bill to Cabinet and subsequently Parliament for consideration and approval. The water subsector, water resources management. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana's annual renewable water resources are estimated at approximately 54 billion cubic meters, with over 70% of this volume sourced from the Volta Basin, shared among 6 riparian nations, including Ghana. However, per capita renewable water availability has been on a steady decline from approximately 3,000 cubic meters per person per year in the 1960s to about 1,650 cubic meters as at today. This figure falls below the United Nations threshold of 1,700 cubic meters, indicating parts of the country are already experiencing water stress situation. Despite the abundance of natural water resources, Ghana continues to face significant and multifaceted challenges that hinder sustainable water resource management. These include 1. Climate variability, such as erratic rainfall, drought, and flood, have become more intense and frequent. Illegal mining, commonly referred to as galamsey, continues to pollute our rivers and threatens our ecosystems. Deforestation and poor land management practices continue to degrade our watersheds. Over 60% of Ghana's river catchments have been subjected to unsustainable land use practices. Inadequate enforcement of regulations, overlapping institutional mandates, limited resources, and lack of real-time data do hamper coordinated interventions and further compound our challenges. Uncontrolled urban sprawl, which has led to the encroachment of wetlands, riverbanks, and recharge zones. Borehole drilling, largely unregulated, is depleting aquifers, while industrial expansion often disregards effluent control measures. To address the challenges outlined above, the Water Resources Commission, with the support of government and other development partners, raised 34,000 seedlings as part of the buffer zone restoration program. Continued with the implementation of nature-based solutions, as well as the establishment of watershed investment programs for some river basins. The Commission has also adopted the bottom-up approach of water resources management by establishing local water governance systems, where riverian communities are directly engaged to support the management of our water resources. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in support of efforts to combat illegal mining, especially within water bodies, the Commission has developed the Water Resources Assessment System, which is currently in its operational testing phase, alongside user acceptance testing and training sessions. The system will be linked with the Mining Cadastre Administration System of the Minerals Commission to enhance government's vision of streamlining the permitting and licensing process for small-scale mining while reducing the turnaround time. Additionally, 2 legislative instruments for the management of riparian buffer zones and the control of waste discharge and management of water quality within the country are being drafted with the support of the Attorney General's Office for onward submission to Parliament for consideration. These LIs, when adopted, will minimize encroachment and pollution of water bodies in the country. Water supply. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, according to the Ghana Statistical Service and the WHO and UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program, approximately 88% of Ghana's population has access to basic water services. However, only 44% of the population benefits from safely managed water services, defined as improved water source. That is on premises, available when needed, and free from contamination. Urban water access is relatively high at 96%, whereas rural areas report an average of 74%, with certain regions experiencing access rates as low as 42%. It is important to note that these figures include communities where service is often intermittent and unreliable. One of the critical challenges facing urban water supply is non-revenue water, which stands at an estimated 50%, far above the international benchmark of 25%. Meanwhile, nearly 4 million Ghanaians continue to depend on unimproved, limited, or surface water sources. Other persistent issues impacting water supply include aging infrastructure, low investment in maintenance, poor cost recovery, high operational cost, pollution of water sources, and climate-induced variabilities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to address these challenges, my ministry continued the implementation of key interventions aimed at expanding and improving water services nationwide. The following urban water supply projects are at various stages of completion. 1. Kita Water Supply Project is 72% completed. Wenchi Water Supply Project is 91% completed. Sekendi Takrade Water Supply Project, 89% completed. Government will soon commence work on the Damango and Sunyani water supply expansion projects, as well as explore the opportunity to conclude all financing arrangements for other water supply projects at Tamale, Yendi, Techiman, and Takwa. Additionally, the Danish government has also earmarked some grant support to expand water supply services to low-income and high-density areas in Wa and Bolgatanga to address water supply challenges to the vulnerable in these areas. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the rural water supply projects are also at various stages of completion. 1. Asenkregwa, 72% completed. Sefiri also, 57% completed. Diadaso, 50% completed. Kweman Damfa, 75% completed. Goso, 59% completed. Jabin, 65% completed. Aveime, 81% completed. Edu Banso, 70% completed. Water sector reform. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my ministry continues to pursue water sector reforms in line with the broader objectives of the revised National Water Policy. Studies are currently ongoing to define clear and sustainable pathways aimed at strengthening institutional coordination, improving service delivery, and enhancing financial sustainability. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, in the face of resource constraints, the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources remains resolute in its commitment to deliver transformative policies, programs and projects that positively impact the lives of Ghanaians as we confront the complex challenges of infrastructure, development, and environmental sustainability. We urge all stakeholders, both state and non-state actors, to adhere strictly to planning regulations, promote responsible development practices, and demonstrate improved civic responsibility. Let us reaffirm our shared commitment to building a resilient, inclusive, and forward-looking Ghana. On behalf of the ministry, I extend my deep appreciation to all partners and stakeholders for your continued support. We remain dedicated to creating infrastructure that meets today's needs while laying a solid foundation for future generations. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that thorough and comprehensive briefing on the various activities being undertaken by your ministry. You have indeed shown that whereas you are a man of few words, you are action-oriented and you are getting the job done. This should put to rest any doubts that may linger about the kind of work that you are doing in fulfillment of President Mohammed's charge to you to ensure that the sector you superintend is properly and adequately developed. Well, at this stage, as is customary, we would invite questions from members of the media present relating to the presentation that has been made or any other matter that has to do with the works, housing, and water resources sectors. So I would invite you to the microphone. The usual rubric will apply. Identify yourself, the media organization you work for, and then go straight to your question without any lengthy preambles, please.
Okay. Minister, my name is Abdul Hanan Adam, and I work with EIB Network. Minister, you gave highlights with regards to the Akosombo Dam spillage, but sometime 11 months ago when President Mahama visited Ho for his thank you tour, he made mention about the fact that adequate compensation will be paid to victims of the Pon and Akosombo Dam spillage. It's been 11 months, but the previous administration, through your predecessor, said some 2,000 housing units had started and were at various stages of completion. In this last 1 year, how many of these houses have been given back to the victims, or they are also still at the various stages of completion, as you've indicated? My second question has to do with the Garrett project. We know Ghana approved it in 2019. It was a World Bank facility worth $200 million. But in April, when President Mahama visited some or toured some flood-prone areas in Accra, he expressed his disapproval over the delay of the completion of the project. You subsequently, as minister, in November, also visited these areas and employed contractors to accelerate work in these areas. It's been about 3 months. Still, the project is not yet completed. How much has been spent so far? And given the fact that between 2020 and 2023, we had some economic turbulence, the government of Ghana commit additional resources to this project? Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's any other question, I would invite it at this stage. So in the interest of time, if you have any question, please move towards the microphone so that we have a quick transition.
Komla Kluche is my name. I work for TV3. All right. My question is two, actually. The first one is the previous administration introduced a rent assistance scheme on to most people, but we haven't really heard much about it. Can you apprise us with what has been done so far and the benefit it brought to Ghanaians? And if it's still running, how much has been expended so far with regards to the rent assistance scheme?
Komla, if I didn't know better, I would have said that you just came in, because I heard the minister clearly outline what has been done. But for your benefit and for the benefit of those that may not have heard him, he will reiterate what has been done.
So that'll be withdrawn?
Yes. No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. It's not.
Okay.
I won't disallow it. Maybe there are those who may not have followed him, but...
So the other bit has to do with the ravaging of the sea in the Ketu South constituency. I mean, it's become a topical issue. We've seen some work being done. Recently, we've seen a contractor move to site. What is the state of work? And also, what are the plans for the rest of the coastline? Because once it moves from one side, it goes to the other side. What's the plan? Is it the intention to have sea defense right from the very start to the end of the coastline?
Again, I believe the minister spoke about that, but he will reiterate it for your benefit, yes. No problem.
Thank you. My name is Kester, I write for the Daily Graphic. First one is something that really bothers me. If you're driving towards Accra from broadcasting area, there is some particular parts around SCC that floods all the time during the rainy season. I don't know if it's a ritual that we enjoy seeing or if we can actually do something about it. So I wanted the minister to tell me if it's come to his attention and if he has something he wants to do about it.
Repeat the area you are describing.
Around SCC, if you're driving from Kaswa to Accra, okay, on that stretch, yeah.
All right. Okay.
And then my second question is about water. I heard him talk about water resources, and I didn't hear him speak about Galamsey in relation to water resources.
Oh, I believe he did. I believe it. But then we'll ask your question, yes.
Okay. But then I wanted to know how much Galamsey has interrupted our water supply.
All right.
If we can really get concrete figures, and if the water we are consuming is healthy, how assured are we that it's not infested with heavy metals and mercury and all of that? Because it's become a concern around the world.
All right. It's a fair question. So
this is also around water. Teshi and its environs have been having some rationing, and there's been a lot of talk. Every time the water resource spokesperson speaks, he apologizes and then urges the people to have patience. I wanted to know if there are really real concrete steps being taken and if the ministry can appraise us on those steps being taken in relation to water rationing in Teshi. And now Chrome, they are complaining they don't have water and all of that. So if you can tell us about water, especially urban water supply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Minister, good afternoon. Akosia Adjei here from City FM. I have 3 questions to ask. So first of all, as a member of the Presidential Anti-Flood Task Force, I heard you mention initiatives that you've taken, aerial recce to identify flood-prone areas and approximately some 1.76 kilometers of storm drains under the flood control program that have been constructed. My question is, how much has been invested so far in dealing with flooding since you assumed office? My second question is, given the scale of the complexity of water sector and then the works and housing as well. In your own view, do you think that these three sectors should be put under one ministry? And then three, there are increasing calls for Chinese investors to enter Ghana's real estate sector to boost competition and to ease the high prices. So I want to find out what is your take on this. Do you encourage Chinese investors into this sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Maxwell Agbagba. I work with Joy FM. Over the years, a lot of private hostel owners have profiteered from the accommodation challenges on the campuses of our universities. Sometime last year at the annual New Year School, President Mahama talked about a 10,000 bed capacity, which is in the offing to mitigate the situation, especially on the University of Ghana campus. The minister talked about amendment to the rent control law and in the Rent Act to regulate that hostel accommodation space, which I believe would also mitigate the situation. I want to find out from him what rent setting guidelines will be introduced, what controls, what ceilings will be introduced. And then my second question, anytime we talk about affordable housing projects, a lot of people ask, how affordable are they going to be? I want to find out what measures are being taken to ensure that higher income earners and speculative buyers do not capture the affordable housing units that we are putting up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Honorable Minister, you may answer these questions, after which we'll come back for a final round before we wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me start with GH1. I think you asked about the pledge that His Excellency the President made during the thank you tour about the compensation and, if I remember, the housing units. Yes, His Excellency made that statement. After the disaster, there was a ministerial committee was put together. My ministry actually was charged with putting together buildings for the affected communities. So for the compensation, I would have to go back and check on that, as in the particular sector that was handling the compensation. But so far, and you mentioned whether the previous government also started something. The previous government actually started preliminary engagements, but the actual structure started from last year. And so far, within the first phase, as in the three areas, the north, south, and central tongue, we currently have about 251 housing units currently at various stages of completion. 251 housing, not 2,000, because the first phase actually is 1,000 and something housing, not 2,000. But because of some delays with lands and other issues, that's how come it delayed. But as we speak, some contractors are still moving to sites. So very soon, you'll see the housing coming up. And you asked about the Garrett project. The Garrett project, as you rightly mentioned, experienced some lapses. I visited the various sites with His Excellency the President, and after that, I also did my own visit and realized that they were really lacking behind. So I called for an accelerated plan. I tasked the consultants to get me an accelerated plan from all the contractors, of which was submitted and approved. And after that, I visited the sites again. And I can tell you that some of the contractors are actually even working 24 hours. So I'm sure with the accelerated plan that they brought, we will be able to finish on time. Okay. The total amount was 187,200 million USD, out of which 65 million USD was used for the COVID, during the COVID period by the previous government. Thank you. But the project is 100% World Bank finance. I think TV3. Pardon? National Rental Assistance Scheme. Yeah, I think you wanted to find out how much was given, expended so far. Okay. Okay, so at inception, the scheme was advanced a seed money of 27 million cedis. And over time, the principal and interest has rolled over and has accrued a total of 71.7 million, meaning the scheme is doing very well. And through oversight administration, beneficiary numbers has increased from 2,701 in 2024 to 4,732 in 2025. So I think the scheme is doing very well and it's ongoing. And we are even trying to engage other financial institutions to partner them so that we can scale it up to other regions too, so that in future all the 16 regions will be on the scheme. So the scheme is doing very well. Okay, SCC flooding. There's been some works on the SCC area. I will let my director works say something about.
And SCC Kaswa, work is ongoing. So upon completion, that flooding will cease. Ongoing by Quaymont, the contractor. Come again.
Can you give a brief description of the scope of it?
Okay. We are constructing drainage from, how do you call it? More, how do you call it? West East Mall, yes. Down to Atal, I don't know if people knows there. There's a big drain there. So now we are around just after the traffic light. So after completion, the challenge will cease. Yes, so that is it.
There was also a question from CTFM about drainage, how much has been spent so far. In 2025, government allocated about 30 million Ghana cedi. And out of the 30 million Ghana cedi, we undertook some interventions. Namely Abeka Aigbe Town, Weja SCC, that's what he just spoke about, Okere in the eastern region, London Bridge in Cape Coast, and Kaswa Millennium City in the central region. I'm sure when we mention Kaswa, people think Accra, but central region. Which Chinese investor? yes, I will even rush for them. Why am I saying that? I'm sure from my script we all realize, we heard what I said, the housing deficit that we have in this country. And if you have a president like we have, who will meet me on the roadside and say, Ken, are you people trying to reduce the housing deficit? And Chinese people are coming in, who am I to say no? No, I wouldn't say that. Recently, I was even in Turkey, and I actually called for investors because I met the Contractors Association over there. I even asked them that they should come. But yes, we will not just receive them. We will look at the source of the funding of the project, and we will also guide them based on our built standards and our built laws. We'll use that one to guide them, not just that they can just flood in, because we also have to think about Ghanaians. But we will receive them because we need more people to enter into the built market, because that is the only way rent can also come down. Because now rent is going up because we don't have a lot of houses. But if we have a lot, then rent will definitely go down, so we will receive them. Hostel. You know, I tried jotting some things down. You know, it is important to stress that merger does not diminish the importance of any sector. The real question is not together or apart, but how they are governed. The merger of the sectors in this case is a strategic decision by the government to improve coordination, strengthen accountability, and deliver integrated outcomes in line with the national development priorities of the government. If we look at Liberia, as they themselves say, Liberia, the Ministry for Public Works has roads as part, housing as part, and energy, other institutions as part. And when you look at Paul Kagame, His Excellency Paul Kagame's country too, there are a lot of mergers with these ministries. So I don't think it's a problem. As I mentioned earlier on, the rent bill, when enacted, will establish an independent rent assessment committee comprising of key stakeholders to ensure fair, transparent, and equitable determination of rent levels, including hostels. But however, the management of the hostel facilities doesn't fall under my ministry. That falls under Ministry of Tourism. But the fees that they charge, that is what falls under my ministry. And that is what the rent bill will be checking, to ensure that high fees are not charged as far as hostels are concerned.
That we draw down the curtains here so they can have their news bulletin, media news bulletin. So on that note, I thank the minister sincerely for coming to update us on the work that is being done in the sector. And as I indicated, it has shown clearly that a lot of work is being done. I'm sure that the next time he comes here, in a couple of weeks or months, there would even be more successes to report. So thank you all for coming, and see you next week when, all things being equal, we'll have the local government minister to brief us on performance under his sector. Thank you very much.
Just gone by is a presser or a briefing by the Minister for Works and Housing, Kenneth Gilbert Adjei, from the Jubilee House. But I have with me my colleague, Jude Duncan, to bring us key highlights of that particular address. Hello, Jude. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Interesting. What are the key highlights for you in this particular briefing?
So mainly key issues around the sector, Ministry for Works and Housing and Water Resources came up. Key among them included the Akosombo Dam spillage. Of course, rental issues, very topical. The management of state assets, including state bungalows. A lot of people don't know that it falls under the purview of the Ministry of Works and Housing. Also came up, the Saglemi housing project fell under the broader team of, managing or providing affordable housing. And of course, you know that the country has experienced some severe water crisis in parts of the capital. So the minister used the opportunity to highlight all of those issues that fall directly under the purview or directly under his watch as minister. On the Akosombo Dam spillage, the minister made it clear that over 2,225 houses are being constructed across 4 regions to, help victims who had their homes displaced in the flood. And of course, he also talked about the fact that the NPP government began the consultation and engagement period, but it was this administration that began building these houses for the victims. Of course, on rent as well, he talked about the fact that investors are welcomed into the country. This was a question posed by our correspondent at the presidency, Akosua Ocho, on whether government will be willing to get on board some Chinese investors in Ghana's real estate. And he was clear that they welcome investors, but will be enforcing, the required regulations to ensure that the authenticity of our built environment is maintained. Among other really interesting conversations that came up in this address.
I believe the one about housing was particularly a great one for the youth because of the amount of money the youth have to spend, in getting accommodation and all. I'm sure for you that was also the key, very key. You've mentioned a lot of things, but what is the key thing you would say you got from that briefing?
Housing obviously key because it affects a lot of people. Our housing deficits as a country really is nothing to write home about. But even before I come to that, Samuel, he touched on another key issue, which had to do with flood mitigation, right? So we know how the capital and other urban spaces usually become after usually some few hours of downpour. Now, he mentioned that efforts were underway to improve, our flood resilience. He talked about the fact that the presidential committee being led by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Standogbe, to address, flood hotspots in the country. Enormous work was being done in the area. He also mentioned the Garage project, which is supposed to improve across or, communities along the
coastal areas?
Not the coastal areas. So Garage is mainly for along the Odo River Basin.
River Basin.
Exactly. So all communities along the Odo River Basin are to, see improved resilience when it comes to flood. So those were the major issues. Top of my head, he talked about Akosombo Dam spillage, he talked about flooding, he talked about housing, and of course, improved water access. He mentioned that 88% of urban spaces, have access to water, but only 44% have, improved water, running through their pipes adequately and at will. So that was clearly an issue, but hopefully, he said his government is minded to do more within the space.
Thank you so much, Jude Duncan. That is Jude Duncan, my colleague in the newsroom, bringing us the key highlight of that particular briefing by the Minister for Works and Housing, Kenneth Gilbert Adjei. And away from that, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Coming up, Supreme Court quashes Tamale High Court ruling on Pandai parliamentary election. And also coming up, Blekusu Coastal Defense Project hits 25% completion. And coming up in business, fiscal discipline strengthens as total public debt stands at 644.6 billion Ghana cedis. And later in sport, CAF to rule on Senegal-Morocco AFCON final controversy within 48 hours. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. The Supreme Court of Ghana has set aside a High Court ruling that annulled that parliamentary election result for the Kwandai constituency, halting a planned rerun by the Electoral Commission. The decision was delivered by a 4-1 majority, with Justice Gabriel's Court Boaman dissenting. The court upheld an application filed by the New Patriotic Party Member of Parliament, Matthew Yindam, who argued that the Tamale High Court lacked the authority to nullify his election. Speaking after the court ruling, Member of Parliament for Pandai, Matthew Yindam, expressed gratitude to the Supreme Court for upholding the election results.
First of all, let me say thank you to Almighty God for what He's done in my life, and to also thank my lawyers, and also use this opportunity to thank the Supreme Court judges for the ruling, because it's clear that the people wanted to change the will of the people of Pandai, but the Supreme Court has affirmed the will of the people, and I'm most grateful to them. I also want to thank the party from the head to the bottom, that is national, regional, and the constituency, for the support they've given me. And the people of Pandai, I'm sure that when you are in Pandai today, you will see the joy of the people, because they voted for me and they expected me to serve them for the 4 years. I also want to thank His Excellency, the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for the support he's given me throughout. I am most grateful. May God add several years to his current years. And I know by the will of God, he will serve this nation one day. I am very grateful.
However, the Majority Chief Whip and MP for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Nafiamepo, urged calm among NDC supporters and added that the party will take further action after receiving the official court ruling.
As a party, we are aggrieved by this decision, and therefore we will advise our candidate in the matter regarding the next step to take. But the court is a court of equity and of law. We should be interested in the Gazette notification published by the Assembly Press under the authority of the Electoral Commission that was brought to Parliament, for which people like me were sworn in. That cannot be a gazette that will be discounted by the court, because it's a public document. The MPP cannot benefit from that gazette notification and come to court and say that that is not the proper document. You see, the MPP, when the Tamale court gave their decision in our favor, they called the court a kangaroo court. Today, when they got the court decision in their favor, they are singing the praises of the court. But we are law-abiding. We want to urge our teaming supporters, both here and in Pandai, to remain calm. This is not the end. This matter is not the end. The ruling of the court will be filed according to the court's own decision by the 6th of February. when we obtain the ruling, and that's a certified true copy, and we study it, we advise ourselves. There's a review option. So this matter is not ended.
Now, chairman of the New Patriotic Party Presidential Election Committee, Joseph Osei-Wusu, has dismissed claims by Kennedy Japan's campaign team that he failed to review the peace pact signed last Thursday. Speaking on Face to Face, he said Mr. Japan's only concern related to possible discrepancies in recorded votes, issues he said had already been addressed by the party and the Electoral Commission.
The issue Ken raised was that we say that he should accept the results. But he, in this 2023 elections, when he was going around this time, one constituency, they told him that he got 3 votes, but what they recorded for him was 0. So what if that happens? Then I told him that this same issue was raised by Rocky. Rocky was standing by me at the meeting with the Electoral Commission. And the Electoral Commission and myself all made a firm commitment that if we have evidence that anything untoward had been done which affects the integrity of the election, we'll cancel it. Subsequent to that, I granted an interview to GNA, and I made the same point. The day before yesterday, I granted an interview on PM Express, and I made the same provision. So I said, oh, okay, then let me repeat it here. That was what happened. It was not with anything with the text or that he hadn't seen, because Rocky was there pointing that thing out to him. So because Rocky confirmed that indeed that matter had been raised with the Electoral Commission, he didn't find it difficult. He only wanted me to repeat it at this room.
From the MPP to the NDC, vetting of aspirant for the Ayawaso East National Democratic Congress parliamentary primary is expected to take place today and at the party's Greater Accra Regional Office. 5 aspirants, including Adjei Amina Adam, widow of the MP Mahama Nasir Ture, and Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal, successfully filed nominations on Tuesday. The Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the NDC, Theophilus Tete Chai, outlined the modalities for the vetting process. But let's go live to the grounds and find out what has been happening. I have on the line my colleague Fauzu Masaudu. Hello, Fauzu. Good afternoon and welcome to Newsfeed.
Hi, good afternoon.
Great. Bring us up to speed. What has been happening with this particular vetted? Who has been vetted yet?
Well, Samuel, the vetting was initially scheduled to begin at 11, but the party functionary had to hold an emergency meeting to conclude on certain modalities before they commence. And so it delayed a bit, but now I can confirm to you that the process has begun. The first person in there is Baba Jamal, that's Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria. He's taking his stand presently.
So do you expect that all aspirants will be vetted today?
Yes, so definitely all 5 aspirants who filed their nominations yesterday are expected to appear for vetting today unless anything otherwise happens. But for now, aside Baba Jamal, I can also see Dr. Yakubu Azindo, also the party's constituency chairman who filed his nomination yesterday, and that's Dr. Mohammed Rami is also present here. So far, I have spotted 3 out of the 5 aspirants who filed their nomination yesterday. But somehow, you also recall that yesterday the NDC functionary in the Greater Accra region, specifically the party's Greater Accra Regional Secretary, Mr. Theophilus Tete, indicated that one of the aspirants, who is Adjei Amina Adam, the widow of the late MP, had requested that she be vetted virtually, and that they were going to hold a meeting to decide whether the request should be granted or not. Well, today we are learning that her request was denied, and so essentially, technically, Adjei Amina Adam is expected to also appear for the vetting today. We know that Adjei Amina Adam has been at the center of controversy because according to Islamic practice, she's supposed to observe a certain period of seclusion as a widow for at least 4 months, 10 days before she comes out. But her team has come out to, clarify that, and she's indeed observing that period of seclusion, and that her declaration of intent would not mean a violation of that Islamic practice. And so, for now, we haven't seen her around.
Right.
once a request has been denied, that means that she's expected to appear in person. As to whether or not she will do so, we would have to wait to conclude on that.
Right. Fauzu, before I let you go, usually during some of these exercises, sometimes it gets tensions. Paint to us a picture of how the security situation is.
So earlier before Baba Jamal and CK10, there was, it was quite a tense atmosphere, I must say. And the security arrangement here and the party functionaries have to pull their teeth in controlling the crowd per outlined protocols here. The vetting is specifically happening in a designated room, but then there is a waiting area like a shed that supporters are here waiting, to cheer their respective aspirants on. But the directive is that they are supposed to exit or leave that particular shed to ensure that there is no, to prevent any unforeseen circumstances, given some of the precedents that are characterized with some of these, but then they will not have their word for it. They said no, the supporters are still hanging around here. They said they are not moving an inch. And so that has really been the challenge as far as security and the protocol arrangements are concerned.
Right. Thank you, Fauzu Masaudu. And that was Fauzu Masaudu, our man on the ground, observing the ongoing vetting process for the NDC aspirant who want to run as a candidate for the upcoming by-election. But you're still watching Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Still to come, Interior Minister pushes back on claims of interference in security recruitment. We'll bring you the details shortly. Do stay with us.
We are gearing up for the trip of a lifetime. Heritage Caravan 2026. From 1st to 8th March 2026, 8 days, 14 regions, 1 legendary caravan. We're touring Ghana in the most spectacular way on the Heritage Caravan, exploring the beauty, history, and stories that make our nation unique. Rolling out from Greater Accra through Eastern and OT, up north to the Northern and Upper East, and all the way to the Western region, hitting iconic destinations across Ghana. The Heritage Caravan 2026 will be fun, educative, refreshing, and most of all, remarkable. Stay connected. Follow Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM across all social media platforms for updates and join the conversation using the hashtag Heritage Caravan 2026. The Heritage Caravan 2026 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from City FM, and it's proudly sponsored by Hollard Insurance, Piva Beverages, Omni Basic Bank, Caveman Watches, Gino, and Didi Shito, and it's supported by Nanes Rice. Heritage Caravan 2026, experience Ghana like never before.
Welcome to the Health Quarters Ghana, where medical science meets everyday life. Join Dr. Gideon Asan and the irrepressible Clemento Suarez as they tackle health issues.
My name is Dr. Gideon Asan. I have with me here my co-host, Clemento Suarez.
I knew how it felt anytime I started to feel the pain.
Whether it is hernia, breast cancer, cataracts, or infertility, the show brings together victims to share their real life stories and experts to debunk myths.
If you wear cotton supporter, and they be a pampers and a benwa or bosom. So you see, instead of it being raw egg, I done it because you already know.
Make a date with us every Sunday at 4 p.m. on Channel 1 TV. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and all social media platforms at Health Quarters Ghana.
Welcome back to Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. Let's bring you some more stories. The Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, has dismissed claims that the ministry has hijacked the recruitment process within the security services, explaining that the measures introduced are aimed at reducing excessive human interference and ensuring fairness. Speaking to the media, the minister said the process reflects the president's vision to ensure that citizens who choose to serve the country are treated with dignity and respect.
Do you see anybody from the ministry participating in the winning of the process? I mean, everything is done by the immigration. I'm sure you covered that of police, equally covered that of prisons and the fire. Did you see anybody from the ministry? It's the same challenge that I'm telling you. People are used to being allowed to manipulate the system. They handling it, the human thing. And now I'm saying that let us all wash our hands off it. Some people cannot come to terms with a new order. His Excellency is very firm that this process should be transparent, because obviously the numbers that we have far outnumber what we can take. So if you don't create a fair and equitable system, then you are going to create a problem that will be chaotic. That's all we are doing. They have been in charge. They've planned it. They've done everything. Yes, it's centralized because from the ministry we can see what everybody is doing, just to play our oversight.
This is Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. Up next is Business with Adjei. Hello, Net.
Hello, Sam.
Yeah, right. Bring us up to speed on what's happening in the business.
Okay, let's get straight to our stories. And latest figures from the Bank of Ghana's Summary of Economic and Financial Data for the period ending January 2026 puts the country's total public debt stock at 644.6 billion Ghana cedis as of November 2025, translating into a debt-to-GDP ratio of 45.5%. This indicates the country is managing its debt better and gradually controlling its spending. Here is more.
According to the Bank of Ghana's January 2026 data, on a month-on-month basis, that is between October and November 2025, the debt increased by about 14.4 billion Ghana cedis. It, however, declined by about 40 billion Ghana cedis between September and November 2025, driven by reduced borrowing and stronger cash management. In dollar terms, total debt stood at $57.2 billion in November, down from 57.8 billion Ghana cedis in October, though slightly above the 55.1 billion Ghana cedis in September 2025. These shifts mainly reflect exchange rate movements. A closer look at the debt composition shows broad-based moderation as external debt stood at $29.3 billion, while domestic debt stood at 314.5 billion Ghana cedis, easing pressure on local financial markets and potentially freeing up credit for businesses. Year-on-year comparisons highlight the impact of disciplined fiscal management. Total public debt in November was 644.6 billion Ghana cedis, down from the 742.5 billion Ghana cedis in November 2025, a significant improvement in debt sustainability. The progress is underpinned by fiscal discipline as government expenditure fell from 16.6% of GDP in November 2024 to 13.9%, while a primary surplus of 1.9% of GDP signals the ability to service debt without new borrowing. Revenue mobilization remains key, with total revenue and grants at 13.4% of GDP, largely from domestic sources, and tax revenue alone at 10.8%, reflecting reduced dependence on aid. For businesses, the combined effect of a lighter debt burden, lower inflation, and a cut in the monetary policy rate creates a more predictable operating environment.
And that's all for business. I am Adjei.
And up next is Sport with Gabi Ofair. Hi, Gabi.
Hi, Sam.
Right, we understand CAF is going to make some ruling.
Yep.
Right, bring us up to speed.
In the next 48 hours. Let's get into it.
Bring us up to speed.
Right, the Confederation of African Football is expected to deliver its verdict on the chaotic final of the 2025 African Cup of Nations within the next 48 hours following a disciplinary hearing involving the Senegal Football Federation. Now, in a statement issued on Tuesday, the Senegal FA confirmed that officials of the federation, including head coach Papi Thiaw, appeared before CAF's disciplinary committee to respond to issues arising from the closing moment of the final between host nation Morocco and Senegal. Now, it's explained that the hearing followed reports from match officials and a formal protest by the Moroccan FA after the final of the tournament. Some key members of the Senegal squad were questioned during the hearing per the statement. Now, according to the release, CAF's disciplinary body has since taken the matter under consideration. Very latest in the world of sports, I am Gabi Ofer.
And that's all for Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. Many thanks for watching.
Hello there. Thank you for staying with us. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 Television. The show is interactive. Send us your thoughts, your comments. So we're going to go straight into it. Let me say good morning to Lamtega Panga. He's a deputy CEO of the Gaming Commissioner Ghana. I like to call him deputy commissioner.
Deputy commissioner.
Yeah, that's the official.
But I'm acting, so
acting.
let
Very
me
well.
remind you.
Very well. Acting deputy commissioner for the Gaming Commission of Ghana. And Dennis Miracles Abuaje is here. He has decided to run away from us for some time now. But we can pardon him. He's been a busy man over the period. He's aide to Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, so you can understand he's been up and running, touring the country, canvassing votes for his flag bearer aspirant. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you. It's good to have you. Dennis, I'll start off with you because we're hitting home right away. MPP presidential primary set for January 31, this coming Saturday. Over 200,000 delegates to cast their ballots in all 276 constituencies across the country. 5 aspirants vying for that position to lead the party going into the 2028 contest. Who will it be? Will it be Dr. Mahamudu Baumia? Will it be Kennedy Ohene Ejapon? Will it be Dr. Brian Echampong? Will it be Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Kwabna Adjei Ejapon? Who will it be? We'll find out on Saturday, January 31. But Dennis, how has it been so far? Preparations and all. Are we ready for Saturday?
Yes, I think we are. I mean, after days and weeks of moving across the country, we're barely 72 hours, I believe, to the election.
You like doing countdown?
Yeah, me too. Those are times when you don't do the countdown, you realize it's very far.
Yeah, it helps you to manage.
And I like to say it in hours. When you say it in hours, it becomes, you know. So yesterday, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia concluded his nationwide tour.
Okay.
You know, so the last constituency was Minsha North. And so now he's basically engaged all the delegates across the country. The turnout at his meetings were about 97% of people actually showing up.
Right.
The delegates showing up to come and hear and listen. It's been a very interesting campaign. He's stuck to the issues. He's been very focused on the critical things that matter to the MPP delegate, i.e. that we are going into a contest to elect first somebody that can compete and win against the NDC in 2028. And then 2, somebody that can, after winning, be able to steer the affairs of the country and make the party proud and lead this country to another level. So the 2 are linked together. You can't have one and not have the other.
Indeed.
You know, so that makes it quite a straightforward decision for him. You may win primaries, and if you can't lead the country, it will be counterproductive to the party. You may also be very able to run a country, but you need to win the primaries. You need to win the elections. You know, first against the NDC. So these 2 things are basically what. And to the delegates, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been very clear with this message to them. I am the guy that would be able to unite our party going into the future. I am the guy that understands the ropes of this journey. I have been there before. I've seen it before. Yes, the first time we couldn't make it, but that even positions me in a more advantageous position than the others, because then when we enter the campaign room for 2028, I know the pitfalls to avoid. Yeah. I know the holes to dodge. I know the roads to use based on the previous experience. And history also favors him. I mean, in Ghana, there's no doubt that from 1992 to now, there's a trend. Consistency in candidature is crucial. There has never been a time where somebody has attempted the presidency for the first time and won. Unless the person is a certain president. And that tells you that the social mindset, the electoral psychology of the people is quite clear. They need time to be able to absorb what it is that you're saying. And the evidence is that anytime a new candidate runs against a candidate that is coming for a repeat period, that repeat candidate is likely to win. So it's almost as if when you lose the previous elections, it positions you even better for the next elections. And the critical attributes that the people of this country look out for in a president is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia far possesses ahead of the other. What are these attributes? Oh, I mean, you know, respect for humanity is extremely important. Governance is about people. So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia clearly is one person that is without doubt accepted widely by the Ghanaian people in terms of the critical social virtues that humility, his respect for people, his demeanor, his composure. You know, you're going to lead millions of people.
Dr. Duchum can claim same.
Well, so all of them, but he has more. I mean, if you should map it on a graph, he's ahead. He's ahead in some of these things, and he's also communicated clear-cut policies for the delegates and for the country. For the country, everybody is quite clear and aware that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is way ahead of his time. He's visionary. His thought process in terms of where he wants to position Ghana is without doubt, you know, ahead. And then for the party people, he's also clearly outlined what his plans are to ensure that we win together as a party and we run the affairs of the country as a party. And those are not things for you, because you're not a party.
For the delegates.
Yeah, you're not exactly. You're not a party member. And so the party people have really embraced him, and the fact that he's stuck to the issues and giving them reasons why it should be him is crucial. We are hoping that Thursday would go smoothly, and I don't see any reason why it shouldn't go smoothly.
Saturday, you mean?
Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't go smoothly. I mean, Nana, it's first of all a delegate conference, and you are very familiar with the way the delegates conference run. Yeah. When you enter the venue, it is all MPP people in the constituency who know themselves.
Yes.
Some of them have been doing this thing since 1992. Okay, and they know themselves. So the electoral area coordinator comes to the venue with his polling station executives. The polling station chairman is there with his other 4 executives. And the way they even sit, you realize that Methodist Primary A executives, they are all here. You know. So it's extremely difficult for an outsider to disrupt that process. And I always tell people, you can be 100 macho men, but you can overcome 500 people who know themselves. And so people just have to be extremely mindful and careful. And it's just a ballot. We are putting.
Are you picking any signals that there will be?
Oh, I mean, is an African elections. There's something that
But this is a family matter.
Yeah, but it's an African elections. You know, I remember one senior man once told me that in an African elections, you should have a 360 preparation. that is what
anything
it is.
happen.
Oh yeah, it's an African election, and in African elections, you need to have, because again, our democracy is still burdened. Trust me, a lot of people are still even accepting the fact that when we vote, just accept and let's move on. You know, it's even happening across countries where people still don't understand that it was a vote, we've counted, you've lost, accept. So we need to shepherd everybody till we get there. So, I mean, the caution is that it's a family affair, like you said, and people will be there to protect the space. It's not just the police or the electoral commission. All of us, and we know ourselves. We know ourselves. I mean, if you take it to my constituency, I can point out every police station executive. All of them.
So then we can trust the police and the EC to do a good job.
No, I am 100% convinced.
It's
that
the party sending its own security.
No. It's the Ghana Police and Electoral Commission. Right. We don't need our own security for anything. It's a simple process. And believe me, by 10 a.m., some constituencies will be done.
Finished.
Yes. By 10 a.m., some constituencies will finish. Because you see the way we come on the day, because we are coming. So some are coming in buses. Some are coming in buses from the hinterlands, from their communities. Electoral area based, community based, and they come. So
who's sponsoring these buses?
Oh no, the party is actually providing the resources for these things. So some are coming in buses. Of course, when you come in, you move me from my village to come and vote. I shouldn't use my own money. So the party is making arrangements for all of these things. And when they arrive, by 7:30, trust me, some of the places are full.
Yeah,
they are full, and they start voting. They queue. And in some places, based on the venue and how it looks, you realize that the Electoral Commission will be having the album and mentioning the names. Dennis Miracle Sabuaji. Then, so what they will say is that don't pass a electoral area. Then they will all queue.
Right.
Then they will mention Dennis Miracle Sabuaji, chairman. Then you see him coming to vote. So it's a very open, transparent, process that I don't think there should be an issue.
The chairman of the presidential committee, Joseph Oseus, yesterday mentioned that Ghana card will be accepted even if you don't have the party card on your person.
Yeah, I mean a national photo ID. A national, you don't need a party card to vote. You need, you see, the primary source document is a register, and the register has my name and my picture. So what the Electoral Commission needs is something that shows that I'm the person in the album is you. So that's all. So you can come with your passport. No, that's how we've been voting. In fact, in other areas, unless there's some extreme controversy, if I show up, you look at my picture.
On the register,
it's able to verify. Yes, and don't forget that there is a police station chairman, secretary, women organizer, and youth organizer.
Even constituency executives.
They are all there.
Like you said, they know themselves.
Regional executives.
It's a very simple process, so it's not complex at all, unless somebody really just wants to cause unnecessary. But when people are losing, they can do a lot of things.
I'll come back to you because this is your election. But council, from where you sit, what do you anticipate, or what do you see happening on Saturday? And I'll also digress a little bit because there's actually a suit now challenging the delegate system. So just quick thoughts on what you see happening and then touch briefly on this suit for me.
Very well. Good morning to you and good morning to my brother Miracle. I think that this is just part of the democratic system to ensure fairness in selection of who should lead a political party. Under normal circumstance, this should not lead to any unnecessary tension and all that. But unfortunately, I must say that largely it has not produced the soundbite and the outcome that we would want. You would expect that some policy ideas, some leadership ideas, some challenging thoughts would have been the main driving force between the candidates at this stage. But unfortunately, we've had wholesale of insults, people throwing attacks at each other, character assassination. I mean, yes, you may find that some candidates haven't themselves spoken, but they've had their followers doing it with that condemnation. And when you don't condemn, that's a subtle endorsement, and it's rather unfortunate to see some of these things happen. I mean, you can single out a particular candidate and say, this candidate has carried himself out quite well, creditably, has not dwelled in any of those things. But he has failed to point out some of the conduct of his followers and say, listen, I will not entertain this. And that is what would mark a distinguished leader that, oh, this leader is different and distinct from the rest. But you haven't had any unique, in fact, you tell yourself and ask around, what so far is a message from the individual camps? Apart from the fact that some will tell you that, oh, others went and failed, and if I'm given the chance, I'll do better. Apart from that, it's just been accusations upon accusations from the candidates across, and it's not the best. I mean, we know for sure that the NPP is the alternative for this country, but we would want an alternative that is competent, an alternative that would stand the test of time, and not an alternative that will tell us that, as we say in Akan, Agrobeso if you're I mean, you see the signs that tells you that we will not have anything different from what we are seeing, because this is likely what you're going to carry into the national elections when given the opportunity. And so you want to see some level of quality leadership debate that produces ideas, challenging ideas, policy ideas that would propel this country to the next level.
At this point, they are campaigning to delegates, so the messaging might not be necessarily for, if like the entire country.
But the country matters because the delegates are part of the country. And to a large extent, the delegates also need to know, what are you going to do differently? You may be a winnable candidate, but what are you bringing on the table to make you a winnable candidate? It also matters that the rest of us who are not even candidates, are not delegates, are interested in knowing. In some circumstance, people within the community also influence the delegate. And so it is important that as you target the delegate to convince them that I am a better candidate, you must equally let the rest of us, carry the rest of us along to appreciate what you are doing.
True, because the campaigning has been constituency based. And I doubt all that number of people we see at the various campaign grounds are all delegates.
No, no. Some are party followers, some are, and then largely the rest of us follow on the media, what is going on in the media and all that. And you would expect that the entire exercise would have been so peaceful because, as he said, it's a family affair. But you can't imagine a family affair is producing an outcome where parties are called on to come and sign a peace pact. And look at the body language at that ceremony. It tells you that a ceremony that's where you expect there will be some reconciliation, some friendship exchanges, some camaraderie among the parties. You rather find the body language not one of the best. And then the worst part of it is that you finish and you expect that the outcome of that would be more positive. You have people throwing back saying that I was the one who held the two forces, number one and number three, together at bay. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been good. And then the other person goes to say that, oh, even the other guy who holds a PhD did not pay attention to the document and sign. But what is more important is that that particular exercise, apart from just being cosmetic, it has no legal binding, enforceable mechanism. I mean, you can't hold any of them to any legal mechanism to say you're going to enforce that.
Despite they appending their signature.
It is merely a commitment of words.
So at worst, it's party structures or party constitution that can be used to sanction. But then
yes, and that is where if you think that anybody has gone against the party rules and party regulations, but you can't hold them against anything there because this is a mere commitment of what they would wish to do. We are in a democratic environment. If somebody decides that tomorrow he's not going to go by what has been agreed upon, he's a man of his own. I mean, we've seen it happen. Either he goes out to form his own party or decide that he won't campaign for the party. Whatever he decides to do is individual. So you would expect that a party of the NPP would not have necessarily lead to a point where we would need a peace pact to be able to enhance peace in a party. I mean, naturally, if the party claims to be peaceful and all that, we know that for sure that when you have some of these contests, when it is so tense, there will be some exchanges here and there, but not what we have seen in the last
Internal
few
contests
weeks.
are even more dangerous than the national ones.
Absolutely, we appreciate that because, of course, internally you know yourselves and you hold each other's secrets and certain vital information that you can use against each other. But we would not expect some of these outcomes.
From where you sit and based on your observation, what's the level of acrimony you see, and how much of a difficult task will it put on whoever emerges winner on Saturday in uniting the party for the battle ahead?
You may have to look at it from two perspectives. One, the willingness of the other party to sit at table and reconcile.
Right.
And not just sit at table, but carry on with actions that shows genuine reconciliation. And how you overturn some of the words you have used against each other.
Indeed.
Because those words are your own words. You must be held by your words. A man must be, who he is. And so if tomorrow you say all these things and you come back and shake hands and then you come and stand on the stage and say that, oh, the rest of Ghanaians should vote this person to this person. Don't forget that you are the same person who told us that this person is not a good candidate because of A, B, C, D. In fact, some of the words I can't even repeat on air. Of course, some of us, our upbringing will not allow us to say those things.
We saw same happen 2023, 2024.
Yes. Yes, but it showed in the election.
It showed in the results of the election.
I mean, as some people say, that it actually showed in 38%.
EC says 41.
Well, let's give it 41. Let's leave it 41. Let's leave it 41. But nonetheless, any of the candidates who the NPP elect, I can tell you for sure that we'll not be able to beat the NDC candidates.
You don't have a candidate yet.
Don't worry.
You are here to do your own primary.
We will go through it.
Irrespective of who you select.
Don't forget that the party does not dwell, the success of the party does not dwell on only the candidate's attributes. The performance of his party or his government. If the Nando's administration had performed very well, it would have given Bawumia a good opportunity to sell himself. But it was difficult and reflected even in the parliamentary elections. I mean, where a government's performance is so poor, it naturally reflects in the ability to convince voters to give you an opportunity again.
The election is usually a referendum on the performance of the government.
Absolutely. And that's what we've seen. And so we are hopeful with what we have started, and I said earlier, what we have started, and we're able to sustain this and carry on to the next 2-3 years, it will tell you that whoever we bring out as our candidate would have a good opportunity to tell Ghanaians that, look at what my team has done, and when given the opportunity, I will do better.
Dennis, how much of a leadership challenge exists after January 31? Because at this point, there should be unity going forward.
Before I come to that, I don't know why the NDC, they just can't mind their business. I just don't understand it.
It's our business.
Your business is your business.
No, it's not.
Are you not interested in the performance of the government?
I am, but you see, there's a big difference between the government and the party. The party, right now we are talking party level. When we get to government level, we'll discuss it. You see, the NDC, I don't know, but there seems to be under some delusion. Like there are some superpower political party and there are some extraordinary party. Listen, the NDC just got out of a contest where at the last minute, barely 24 hours, Dufo and Ku pulled out. There were lots of people we know that would have been completely sidelined. Yabuatinja and Ku, where are they? All of them have been sidelined. So it's not as if it's all rosy there. And let's also be fair. John Mahama, His Excellency, has completely been controlling this party since 2012. 2012. That's 2012. From the time Professor Mills passed. After Mills. 2012, 2016 elections, 2020 elections, 2024, 4 elections, 1 man. You understand?
They went into primaries.
Oh, come on. We know what's happening in the primary.
We have competitive elections to choose our flag bearer.
Did you let me flow? I didn't ask you to venture into my space.
You brought me in.
No, you venture into my space.
All right, let's carry on.
So we know what has happened. The real test of the NDC is what is yet to come. The real test. So they should calm down.
We're up for it.
In any case, this country, we've seen 9 elections. The first election in this country, 1992, in this Fourth Republic, they won it. When basically there was opaque boxes, almost a no contest. 1992, 9 elections. Out of the 9, we have won 4. You have won 5. So you are no superpower than us.
But when you put 4 and 5
together, I made a very fundamental point before I came. I said it is because they won the first one.
Right.
It's because you won the first one. In the last 12 years, we have won 2 elections. You won 1. In the last 12 years.
The last 12.
Yes.
In the last 12.
That's true.
Yeah.
We won 2, you won 1. In the last 16 years, you won 2, we won 2. So you are not special. That is what the facts say. You are not special. Listen, everything you are saying now, we said same when we won election in 2017. As of 2020, people in this country were tweeting that NDC is good. This whole thing, like, we are on track, and if you continue, listen, Nana Akufo-Addo in 2020, 4 years after his elections, he was even putting him on his status. On Sunday nights when Akufo-Addo is coming to speak.
You have his number.
Akufo-Addo's rating in 2017, at the end of 2017, by the international rating agency was 80%. Akufo-Addo in the first 12 months implemented major flagship project. They mention one flagship program they've implemented in their first year. So there is nothing extraordinary about a party's first year goodwill. We've all seen it. It's normal. The real test is how you can sustain it, especially now. Now that only you and I around this table, those who go to the fuel station to buy fuel, are benefiting from everything you're talking about. The masses, 75% of the people in Accra this morning are using public transport. They have no benefit of the so-called gains you are talking about. It doesn't reflect in their lives. Indeed, the only memory of what these 75% in Accra have of you, your government, is high cost of living, high electricity, high water. That has affected everything. There are children who are in University of Ghana. They are paying almost ×2 the fees they paid in 2024. You know what I'm saying? They are 6,200 hostel fees. Yes,
hostel fees.
Academic hostel fee is worse.
But isn't that what G-Check asked them to?
No, that is not it. I'm telling you what they paid this term. They already in school. In 2024, they were paying 1,006. Now they are paying 2,360. University of Ghana. Hostel, Ivandi hostel. It was 6,200. Now they are paying 7,800. My niece, her name is Beyonce Esi Abuaje.
Beyonce?
Yeah, she's in tech right now. Yeah, she looks like Beyonce, very pretty. She's in KNUST now. I paid fees and I paid a hostel of an amount of 6,300. Those are the people you should be worried about. Because they are not going to be patient with you for too long. The teachers and nurses that work for 12 months,
they have a no stress policy.
There is not a single no stress-free policy in Ghana. What they have is post-stress support. Because when they were coming, the policy said that we know that when you get admission, because you struggle to be able to pay your first semester fee,
first year
fee will pay for you, so that you don't go through stress. That's what brought the name no stress. Not a single child in Ghana has ever benefited from a no stress fee in 25 academic year or this academic year. What they have, not even one, what they have benefited from is that after they have gone through the stress to pay their fees, government says now apply, then I refund. Do you know the number of students who have dropped out even this academic